You're listening to a Frequency Podcast Network production.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Welcome to Wednesday. My name is Brock.
I'm Dalby.
If for some reason you haven't heard, sadly, Ozzy Osbourne passed away yesterday. So, we made the whole show, honestly, just a tribute to Ozzy today.
Yeah, it didn't feel right to come in and do fun, jokey jokes and stuff like that when maybe the biggest icon in the history of rock and roll passed away just yesterday. And we were very lucky to get some great, not only regular friends of the show, but friends of the show from the music industry to stop by and give us their thoughts as well.
Yeah, and I figured we'd start off with the legend Howard Manshine. Here's what he had to say about, his actual encounter with Ozzy Osbourne.
I do have this. It's the early 80s, and Ozzy was playing Winnipeg, and we had a studio that was the size of a basement. The size of, not the basement, it was in a basement, it was the size of a washroom. Okay. And Ozzy came down there, and we had on the wall a phone. And the phone was, it would turn a color when it rang. It was basically for, and this is before the devices, it was basically for the PD or the engineer if you were off the air, if the PD had to give you a shit. So it's a Saturday night just before a show. And back in this day, we were right across the street from the hockey arena where we was playing. So the phone went on, and right out of his mouth he says, "Mate," I can't do his accent, "Mate, it's the bat phone. It's the Ozzy phone." And what's the point of the story is just how quick his humor was. And then we'd sit and talk, and obviously the talk centered around his bands and what he did. But he just had a brilliant sense of humor, and he just felt at the same time that he was going to fall off the rails at any time, that he was, again, the Prince of Darkness. But you said, man, is he all right? And then he'd inspire you with some words that were so brilliant. He was always, if I can say this, always shrewd enough to have great guitar players in his bands. It has just inspired me, and it inspired the tunes at the end of the day, I want to see. And maybe that's why he's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame twice, as a Sabbath member and a solo member.
Being able to spend some time with Ozzy Osbourne, you kind of talk about being in the room with him, and you can feel his vibes. Having that few minutes with him, what's one thing that when you think of Ozzy on a day like today really just comes back to you in that moment?
I hope this is the right word, because I am sad, but I sort of felt sad for him because of everything that he had partaken over the years, whether it was booze or coke or acid or, I don't know, I'm not trying to be funny, cough mixture or heroin, so many substances, and what that it had done to his body and his headspace. And I know we would hear about his sobriety and then only to go back, slide into addiction. My takeaway, he's a good fella. Just that he got caught up in something. And
maybe a cheesy, lame thing to say, but he was the epitome of what it was to be the ideal rock and roll superstar, He lived that lifestyle. Like, think about this for a moment. His vocal tone, it's distinctive. He's not the greatest singer, but at the end of the day, he found a way to make the way he was singing a certain style. And I think he was such an original, where others were trying to, and I'm not here to dismiss any of the other singers in that genre, trying to maybe sound like a blues singer, trying to be somebody they're not. He was an original, and he found a way to make singing heavy. And he was the first to do it. And maybe that's what why the early Black Sabbath records were so special. The contributions from all four members. Howard, everybody refers to Ozzy as the metal god. Would you agree with that statement?
Think about it. The amount of people that attended the farewell a few weeks ago, the amount of musical acts that wanted to be a part of it. He helped invent heavy metal. He had a TV show.
When you think of music, how many names? One name. Elvis, Ozzy, Tina. You could go on and on. How many people just one name and you know who they are? They're at the top of the class. And something that I loved about him, his appreciation of melody. And people don't talk about that enough. You think about Iron Man and War Pigs, maybe Paranoid, but think about the guy's gift for melody.
And I think another thing that we could say about Ozzy is his appreciation of up-and-coming artists. I mean, you look at something like Ozfest years ago, where he put so many bands on the map.
He set a bar, and you talk to Metallica, for example. In 85 or 86, he said to his people, I'm bringing them on the road. You know what that did for their confidence? He believed in giving acts a chance, where a lot of other musicians would say, we don't want somebody on the opening act because they might blow us off the stage. He welcomed them. It's remarkable. He's a good man.
Now,
he's a good man.
Howard, I know this is, hitting us all very close to home, but to wrap up, if there's one final thing that you could say about Ozzy Osbourne, what would it be?
A father that I have to believe that was devoted to his family, grateful for his success, and believe in incredible legacies. I want to say that he'll go down in history as truly one of the greats. The handle was the Prince of Darkness, and he was somebody certain special. Ozzy, thank you for the music. Thank you for the laughs. Thank you to the rock gods for finding a way that Ozzy was able to perform on July 5. Remarkable.
Thank you so much for chatting with us, Howard. If there's any song that we could play by Ozzy, whether it's a Sabbath, a solo track, anything that he was featured on, what would you like to hear this morning?
I think you could go with any song. Any song at the end of the day. But I have to tell you that I don't know how many times that I've heard Paranoid. I don't know how many times that I've heard cover bands perform that song. In under 3 minutes, he said everything that they wanted to say, and one of the greatest guitar solos ever from Tony. It encapsulates what that, and I don't know how old they were, teenagers maybe, and I don't know how many hours that second record, how long it took to record, but that I think that just says it all. An anthem for generations of disinfected youth. It will go on forever. It's a rallying call.
This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast.
We've got a very special guest on the line. We've got guitarist of Finger 11, Rick Jacket. Do you remember the first time that your ears got to hear Ozzy or Black Sabbath?
Yeah, I do. I was probably around 11 or 12, and my cousin had a Sabbath tape on cassette, and we were driving in his car. It was one of those things where I got to go without my parents, in my older cousin's car, and we would cruise around, and he would play Sabbath, and it was just like, up to that point, I don't think I even had ever heard anything like that. Like, I think my favorite music was Huey Lewis and the News, or that kind of thing, and this was a whole new feeling inside my body.
Game changer.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that was when I heard him, but when I really got into Sabbath and Ozzy was when I picked up the guitar. That was instrumental for me because that's how I learned how to play guitar, was all the Black Sabbath riffs.
Well, I think you're not alone in that. I think it was hard to pick up a guitar in that era. And, if you are serious about it, you wanted to get better, you looked to the greats and you looked to Black Sabbath.
It was the perfect mix because Tony Iommi he's talked about this in his own interviews, like because of his injury and his own limitations, he was forced to sort of play the guitar differently, which in a lot of ways for the rhythm players in the world, it was like the more simpler, like power chords, and it allowed you as a young guitarist to just know how to play one chord position but play Black Sabbath's entire discography, and it was one of those things for me that was like, I remember thinking, like, how does one man or one band write all the good metal riffs?
Why do they get them all?
Yeah, like every single one, there's not enough. The one thing that blew me away about Ozzy his whole career is that it always just seemed effortless. Even the last concert he did, even that back to the beginning show, anybody else in the world would have to bend over backwards and do anything to try and get that voice. And it just came out of him so effortlessly and was so natural. And it was one of the reasons he was so great, you know?
Now, another thing that we've been asking everyone that works in music is, how did Ozzy really influence you in Finger 11?
From the music side, it was just, you know, we're a democracy. We have 5 very distinct personalities in our band, and we don't always agree on music. And Sabbath was one of those, like, 10 bands that we all just absolutely agreed on. You know, we tried to throw cover songs from Sabbath back in the early days of our sets. And then we got to tour with them. You know, we got to tour with them in 2003, and that in itself was like going on stage before Ozzy gives you a certain amount of excitement and honor, let's say. But getting to watch Ozzy for 2.5 hours every single night was like a masterclass in showmanship. Like, you just got to see the guy that bit the hat out fast and did all the crazy stuff up there on stage, being himself and entertaining people effortlessly every single night. And it was just a very important moment in our career because, you know, it's like anything in life. You know, I can show you a picture of the Mona Lisa, but if you go see the Mona Lisa with your own eyeballs, your brain does something different. And it was like that. Seeing Ozzy with our own eyes, backstage, on stage, in the daytime, it was just like you couldn't help but absorb the awesomeness.
I know it's tough when you're opening for these massive artists like Ozzy Osbourne, but did you guys get any kind of interaction in the backstage area?
We did. The band was made up of Mike Borland from Faith No More, Zach Wilde, and at that time it was Jason Newsted. So the band we actually ran into almost daily, and they were amazing. We were fans of all their individual bands as well. But then we got to meet Ozzy maybe twice, and I think we actually got to snap a photo with him, and he was amazing. He's the star, so there was more of a come over here if you want to meet Ozzy, because we had become friends with his security team. But then after we met him the once, we got to see him again, and there's a photo of us with him somewhere, and we look like little kids.
I was going to say, we were talking with Mike Peters from the Cancer Bats, and I said it was almost like probably like a Wayne's World, we're not worthy kind of moment.
It really was. Like, you can see it in the photo. Like, we were just smiling from ear to ear, like we can't believe. And he looks like, here's another band I met.
Here's some kids whose day I made today.
It's one of those moments. I remember I was sleeping in. We'd been out the night before, and I was, let's say hungover, for lack of a better terms. And I was laying in bed, and I got a phone call from a manager, and it was like, "Hey, you want to open for Ozzy this summer?" And I just was like, the state of my mind, and where I was like, "You better not be messing with me right now. Like, if this isn't real, this is the coolest show." It turned out to be one of those moments in our lives that we get to do. So it was very cool.
How would you describe him in one word, if you possibly could, Rick?
I mean, metal, I guess. I was actually thinking about this morning, aside from all his musical accomplishments and his concerts, and something that sort of doesn't really get mentioned about Ozzy is that as an entertainer, he went from starting a genre of music and a style of music that scared the crap out of people, literally scared them, and was the enemy of the parents, and really represented to an older generation what's wrong with the world, right? And he went on to become one of the most lovable, famous, family-friendly characters of our lifetime, which is just an incredible journey in itself. Even if you take the music away, just from where he started to where he ended is an incredible accomplishment of celebrity,
Not to mention, I'm sure you guys can appreciate this based on your work with them, but also a WWE Hall of Famer.
That's right. I mean, honestly, he's like Ozzy's like Snoop Dogg in that sense of he transcends cool. So it's wherever he shows up, it doesn't matter. You could put him in Kleenex commercial, a wrestling ring, or on a rock stage, and he's going to always be Ozzy Osbourne. He's going to always make it cooler than it was. And he was just one of the greats, man. There's not going to be many like Ozzy Osbourne in human history.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
We've got friend of the show, Sam, on the phone. Do you remember the first time that you heard Ozzy or Sabbath?
Yeah, so I remember the first time I heard Ozzy. It was through my dad. My dad was a young parent, so I was probably 7, 8, and my mom did not listen to metal at all. So we're cruising around Peterborough, and he turns around and looks at me, and he's like, this is the real music, not the stuff your mom listens to. So then he taught me how to do the horns in the air. And I just like jammed the hell out with my dad. And it's like a vivid core like memory of like when I hear Paranoid, I'm like, oh my God. Like I can just totally remember doing this with my dad. So since then I've been really influenced by like heavy metal. And my dad now like looks at me and he's just like, yeah, I taught you well.
And I think you're probably not the only one who has a story like that. I mean, even talking with like Rick Jacket, he talked about how scary Ozzy used to be, and parents hated him. Yeah. But then so many of those kids grew up with that music and then were able to pass it down onto their generation. And Ozzy has almost been like a father of rock and roll to all of us.
Hell yeah, he has been. And like I find that like even like when you were there was a guy that was talking about like cutting the grass and stuff like that. I will be cutting and weed whacking around my property and I'll just be like, oh my God, like yes, like, and it's a vibe and it's just a core memory, but it is something that's totally instilled in me. And yeah, he is a god of metal music. Like that's what and rest in peace, Ozzy, rest in peace is all I have to say. And thank you for influencing us.
You mentioned, being parents. There is nothing quite like that first time that you take your kid under your wing and you play Ozzy backwards to let them know how the world really works, Yes. I have Christian grandparents, and oh yeah, when my parents found out about my dad teaching me about Ozzy, there was words, but my dad was just like, she's gonna beat to her own drum, and so am I. So
Ozzy lives within all of us forever.
Hell yeah, Brock.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Right now, we've actually got Mike Peters, the drummer of the Cancer Bats, on the line, which if you don't know, not only a metal band, but you guys also have your own kick-ass Black Sabbath tribute act, Bat Sabbath. I got to ask, as a huge Black Sabbath fan, Ozzy fan, do you remember the first time that you heard Ozzy?
Not really, but one memory comes to mind is I remember I was over 10 because we moved houses, and I was mowing the lawn at the house that we lived in after I was 10. And I was listening to a tape. My cousin had given me a tape with, it definitely had Crazy Train on it, and it might have had the whole record, but I just remember listening to Crazy Train over and over and over again while I cut the lawn.
I imagine sometime soon you'll be cutting the grass and that memory will keep coming back to you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll probably go cut the grass this week and listen to Crazy Train over and over again.
I did see on your Instagram stories there, you guys shared a photo of you with Ozzy. Could you share that story? Was that like a meet and greet? Did you guys happen to meet him at a festival? How'd that work out?
No, we had been doing Bad Sabbath for a while. I think that photo's from like 2012. And it was the weekend of Download in England, and we were playing with Cancer Bats, and it was at the Kerrang Music Awards, like Kerrang's a big magazine. Magazine. And so we ended up presenting Black Sabbath with a Lifetime Achievement Award at the awards show.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was incredible. Like we we're on stage with them. I don't have any photos of us on stage, but I have that one photo that we snapped together, backstage. So it was awesome. Like we got to hang and like we were chatting with Tony and Geezer for a while, like about the festival and about our band, and just kind of we chatted for I don't know 10, 15 minutes, and then they were like, yeah, let's do a picture, and Ozzy shuffled over and we took the picture. But it was surreal. It was just mind-blowing that we got to do that.
That is absolutely incredible. I mean, like, what a full circle kind of thing for a band who does such a tribute to them to honor them with that award, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it was amazing of Kerrang to even, think that would be a good idea, especially because there was, like, all kinds of other celebrities in the room. Like, there was way bigger celebrities that could have easily given them that award, and they chose us to do it. So it was really cool.
Is that one of the few times you think you ever probably got like nervous meeting someone in the music industry or someone like of that stature? Or?
just having to go up on stage and be with them, you know, like it was crazy.
It's almost like a Wayne's World, like we're not worthy.
100%.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Right now, we're actually joined on the phone with Daryl Gray from Helix on the line. Daryl, I mean, I'm going to ask you the same thing we're asking everyone. Growing up, what did Ozzy mean to you, or how did he influence you as a musician?
Obviously, he was a big influence on any musician that came up at any time in the 70s and early 80s. And also one of the best comeback stories in the history of rock and roll.
If you can go back in a time machine, what was the first experience that you have of hearing Ozzy Osbourne?
Black Sabbath 1. Black Sabbath. First song on the album, Black Sabbath. That was my first experience. One of the first songs I ever learned on guitar was Paranoid. That's one of those classic ones that you used to hear in the music store every day. That and Smoke on the Water, and we'd be driving the staff nuts, playing the same riff, you know, 2 or 3 different guys, you know. And then later on, you know, that big comeback with Randy Rhoads, where he's doing Crazy Train and that following album, and then of course the tragic loss of Randy. And still, Ozzy surrounded himself continuously with quality players, good writers, and just kept putting out album after album after album.
It's almost a tough pill to swallow that the Prince of Darkness is no longer with us. I think he was, and maybe, you know what, I don't think it's a bold claim to say. I think he was the face of heavy metal.
Definitely the godfather of heavy metal. Definitely. Every metal band owes a huge debt to Ozzy.
This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Right now, live from Helsinki, Finland, we have got Danko Jones on the phone. Got to ask you off the top, man, the day after Ozzy's passing, what did Ozzy mean to you as a young man getting into rock and roll, learning the guitar?
Well, I mean, I heard about Ozzy Osbourne when I was just a little kid, probably in grade 2 or 3 on the school bus. And so he was supposed to be the scariest man in the world. And I don't even know if half the stories that were being thrown around on the school bus were true. But it definitely piqued my interest. And then I started to listen to him when I started to listen to rock music when I was 11 or 12. Yeah. And so he's been he's always been around. And Ozzy's been the one person the overseer of everything, really.
It does feel like no matter where rock has gone over the years, you could always point to, well, Ozzy's still with us and Ozzy's still doing music, so things must be okay, at least a little bit.
Yeah, and he is a personality that Ozzy had no haters. Like in this world where everybody gets criticized, every band, every person online gets criticized, really, Ozzy had no haters. You know, especially during this time when everybody's divided and everybody's been splintered. Ozzy's really the only figure I can think of in pop culture where everybody loves him.
Now, fortunately enough, you were able to spend some time with Ozzy, share a stage at least with Ozzy. Could you speak on that at all? Any cool moments or memories that stand out from performing with him?
We played 4 shows with Ozzy, but we only shared the stage with him once. So we played Ozfest in 2002 on a smaller stage, and we played the Esquina Rock Festival, I want to say 2000 and, I don't even know, 11? I don't know. Yeah, and then 2014 we played Copenhagen in Denmark, and again we were on another stage. But it was in 2010 we played at the Bercy in Paris at an Ozzy show, so we were support for that show. We were backstage, and he walked by me, but I never really got to meet him then. I actually met him when I was working at a record store in Toronto. He did a signing, and they closed down Yonge Street for that. And I was at the front of the store, right in front of the main doors on Yonge Street at Yonge and Dundas. And he walked into the store and he looked at me because he didn't know where to go. I knew what he wanted, and I was in such starstruck shock. I just said, "Hi, Ozzy." And he goes, "Hi." And then someone whisked him away, and he basically wanted to know. He looked at me like, "Where do I go?" That was cool.
But you missed your opportunity to be his tour guide.
Yeah, but I mean, whatever. He was in the store for 2-3 hours. Like the lineup for the autograph session was, it just snaked all down Yonge Street. So it was a long time he was there, and he was there for a long time. And so I was able to get 2 of my records signed. I think I was the only staff member who brought Ozzy stuff. Like, what a bunch of posers, man.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Our good friend Colin McDonald from The Trues actually sent us a voice note on what Black Sabbath and Ozzy meant to him in the band.
Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath are kind of square one for heavy rock with really good melodies. Anytime we've made heavier sounding songs, Ozzy and Black Sabbath were definitely a big part of the influence. We grew up, kind of loving all of those records. Paranoid, Black Sabbath Volume 4. For, the king of heavy metal, he had such a keen sense of song and melody, and it's what makes all those Sabbath songs so timeless, just beautiful. When we were a cover band back in Antigonish, Nova Scotia, we'd go to Cape Breton and play 3 sets a night at a place called Smooth Herman's, and in every one of those sets we had to play Crazy Train or we'd lose the crowd. So Ozzy loomed large all over the world, and he will be dearly missed and never replaced. Rest in peace.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
We want to honor Ozzy. The whole show is just a tribute to Ozzy today. And I know a few weeks ago, leading up to Back to the Beginning, we had people do Ozzy impressions specifically.
Sharon!
But we figured for one last time, we want everyone to yell Sharon in honor of Ozzy. So we've got 3 contestants on the line playing for $100 in Lotto 649 tickets.
That's right. And tonight there is a $26 million gold ball jackpot, $1 million guaranteed prize, classic draw for $5 million, all on the line tonight.
If you are not one of our 3 Aussies, that does mean you are a judge, so 762-555. Judge accordingly. Let us know who has the best.
Sharon!
We'll go to line 1 here. Hey, good morning. Who's this?
It's Big Papa.
Big Papa.
What's up, Big Papa?
How you doing, man?
What's up? Good.
We're living the dream over here. We want you to honor Ozzy by giving us the best
Sharon!
that you possibly can. Can you do that, Big Papa?
I'm going to try. Here we go. Sharon!
Well done.
That was great.
Well done.
Excellent work, Big Papa.
Hot start. Stay on hold, brother. All right. We go to line 2 here. Hey, good morning. Who's this?
Hey, this is Eric.
Eric, we need you to honor Ozzy this morning. Give us your best.
Sharon!
If you can, brother.
Will do.
Let's hear it.
Oi, Sharon! Get the dog!
That's like peak Osbourne's Ozzy right there.
That's honestly, it didn't have quite the emphasis on the Sharon, but everything else kind of painted the picture.
I've seen so many videos over the past 20 hours of him getting mad at his dog. Stay on hold, Eric. That was good stuff. All right, 762-555. Remember, you are a judge here. Let us know. We go to line 3. Hey, good morning. Who's this?
Hey, boys, it's Billy. How you now?
Oh, we're doing good, Billy. You're in the sweet spot here. What do you think of your fellow Aussies this morning?
Oh, interesting.
Interesting is a way to put it.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's see what you got.
Sharon!
Take it away, brother.
All right. Sharon! Ozzy's coming! Oh.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's okay for radio, isn't it?
That's yep.
Sure.
That's
okay.
Hey, he's just
no harm, no foul.
Going down the hallway, I guess.
That's right. He's coming home.
All right. Yeah. That's what the song was about, right?
He's arriving.
762-555. Who do we think? Line 1, line 2, or line 3? Who's taking it here?
I will say I think the best Sharon was Big Papa, caller number 1.
Text line seems to dig Eric with the whole dog comment.
That's just it, right? Like, you maybe knock a point off because he didn't get the full Sharon, but he did a good yell, and then brought, like you said, one of the more recognizable parts of that show.
He hated that dog. He hated that dog.
I don't have if the text line feels like it's number 2 today.
Everyone's leaning pretty line 2 towards Eric.
I got no problem with that.
Eric, are you still there, my man?
Oh, yeah, buddy.
Well, you get the ding and the round of applause and $100 in Lotto 649 tickets. All right, buddy?
Right on.
If you happen to win the big jackpot tonight, got some nickels and dimes for the fellas over here?
Oh, of course, man. We'll go out and play some Sabbath and some Ozzy.
Hell yeah.
This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Got friend of the show, Luke, on the phone. You got kind of a cool Ozzy story, if you don't mind sharing.
So, yeah, it was like 2009. My wife and I were, she wanted to take me on a trip, so she took me to California, and we did all, like, the touristy things. So we did on one of those, like, the celebrity tours there on the bus. Anyways, so they take you up through Beverly Hills. Anyways, they talked about, like, really cool encounters they had, and the guy was talking about, like, seeing Flea and stuff like that, out walking his dog, and then, but they said a couple weeks prior that they were out and they ran into Ozzy Osbourne. He was just parked on the side of the road, like just anyways. So they stopped and they just said, "What's going on?" Anyways, he said, "Well, my car, I'm having some troubles," and he said, "I can't get it home." So, anyways, his house is one of the places they drive by. So they were like, "Well, we're going by if you want to ride." Anyway, so he jumps on the bus and there's a bunch of people, like there's people from like Europe and stuff like that on the bus. So they're just blown away. And anyways, we get to his house and he's pretty insistent. He said that everybody had to come in for lunch and meet Sharon. So anyways, they all just went in for a couple hours and hung out, and then they continued on their tour. But anyways, they said that he was just like super genuine, and he was pretty insistent that everybody come in just to say thank you for helping him out that day. So
that's unreal.
Yeah, I was kind of jealous it wasn't me, but anyways, they said they had a couple encounters with him, and he was just a super nice human being. So
maybe it's just like my dumb monkey brain, but the thing I wonder most is, what did he feed them? What is
I know. I wish I knew, but I'm sure it was something pretty good. I mean, I'm guessing they're not eating KD, so.
Yeah. I'm assuming it wasn't bat heads or anything like that.
What does Ozzy Osbourne make you for a casual lunch?
Yeah. That'd be good.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
If you're a daily podcast listener, you know we usually end the show with Ed's word of the day. I don't think there was a word that could really sum up today.
Hard to capture just everything that we talked about in one single word.
So we figured we'd get Ed on the phone. Ed, what does Ozzy mean to you, or do you got an Ozzy memory, a story, or anything like that?
I'll tell you, he was a huge influence in high school. He really helped me out with a lot of acid trips.
I don't think you're alone on that one, brother.
I was a bit of an acid head, not only a pie head, and I drank a lot of beer and whiskey and whatever. I did a lot of acid. And
you're going off the rails on a crazy train, I guess we could say.
Yeah. Which is another thing is the first song I ever taught my son on guitar was Crazy Train, and that led him on to getting his own band going.
I think that's a huge thing that probably hits close to home for a lot of people, is that Ozzy may have been the first rock band that they gotten into, which then got their kids into.
Yeah.
And especially if you look at Black Sabbath or even his solo stuff with Randy Rhoads and Zakk Wylde, where the guitar is so influential.
Mm-hmm.
I would say you're not the only one who has a story like that.
Yeah. The Ozzy was just amazing. What an influence. I appreciate. I mean, acid is obviously not a good thing. However, yeah. Well, it depends on how you look at it, I guess, looking back. But, anyways, he was Ozzy was the best, man.
He helped open your third eye in many different ways.
Hell yeah.
Oh, did he ever?
Want to be a part of the podcast?
Leave a message on the Bad Line.
The Bad Line is the answering machine for the Brock and Dalby Show.
To get the number, text the word BAD to 762-555.
Thanks for listening to the Brock and Dalby Podcast.